With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
With so much focus on trying to defy aging, there's no shortage of interesting biohacks out there. At Anytime Fitness, we aren't pushing gimmicks. We're giving you a game plan based on your data so you can live better, longer. Join Anytime Fitness today.
The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline, a Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam. Sam, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Back again for another week of covering the best team in the NBA, as it currently is.
Yeah, that's right. Suns are what, 8-2 in the last 10. 9 out of the last 11 games, too, if we're going to go back a little bit further. Give them credit for an extra win there, including a game against OKC, which counts, and have really dominated the schedule lately in a way that has been nice to watch. I go into these games feeling pretty confident, game after game, that they're going to win. And they've done a good job lately.
To quote Bradley Beal, I smile every day. I wake up this season as a Suns fan, and I truly smile every day. What's well, can I bring it up?
Sure.
Can we not bury the lead here?
I think we have to talk about it.
As nice as it is that the Suns are 8-2 in their last 10 games, and we should talk about how awesome they are in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty important that they're not in a play-in spot anymore, right? They're the sixth seed.
They're in the sixth
in the Western Conference.
I mean, if they could hold that would be amazing.
It would be absolutely amazing. But what's even more amazing is who they leapfrogged to get there.
That's right.
Because as it currently stands, and I'm sure any Suns fan listening knows this, the Suns are sixth in the Western Conference. The Houston Rockets are seventh. And is it going to hold? I don't know. Are there all sorts of things going on with Houston, too, that maybe they could fix over the next few months? Absolutely. But right now, it feels pretty fucking good. I can't lie.
It feels good.
It feels pretty good, man. We've struggled playing that team and beating that team. I think that's a really difficult matchup for the Suns when those two teams play each other. And
good matchup for them.
They'll get another crack at it at some point this season. There's one more game between those two teams, and I think not until April.
A long time.
But it's a huge deal that after the KD, Bradley Beal era comes to an end, just how far this team has come, that they are in striking position. They are literally, as you look at the standings right now, the Suns are 3 games back, and I'm not saying they're going to get all the way here, but they are 3 games back of the Spurs, who are sitting in the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. The Suns are currently...
The Spurs, who are 5-5 in their last 10, by the way, which is the same as the Houston Rockets.
And the Nuggets below them.
And the Nuggets.
The Nuggets below the Spurs, who are also 5-5. The Lakers, who are 5th, who are 4-6. In their last 10 games. The Suns are closer in games back to the 2nd seed than they are to the 8th seeded Golden State Warriors, who they're 3.5 games ahead of.
And actually, just to bring it up too, they're sandwiched by the Los Angeles Lakers and Houston Rockets, and it's just been such a fascinating few days of discourse as a Suns fan to watch, because on one side, we have the Houston Rockets, who are having conversations about whether or not trading for KD was the right move for them, which I think Suns fans have gone through that before. They're struggling. The body language is bad. Their transition defense has gotten worse. Like, the things that we've talked about as Suns fans when KD was here too. And on the other side of the Suns is the Los Angeles Lakers, who are now having their come to terms with DeAndre Ayton conversation, where that sort of the train is pulled up to the station on that one. They're in the bargaining stage of grief there with DeAndre Ayton, where at first they were very excited and he was playing all right, but of course with DeAndre Ayton, we always know the cycle. There are games where he plays well, there are games where he plays poorly, and he is somewhere in between. And often the poor games are so bad, that the good games, are not outweighed by that.
And then to round it out,
are outweighed by that. Mm-hmm.
To round it out, by the way, I will give a little bit of credit to the Los Angeles Clippers in the sense that they're 8-2 in the last 10 games. They're actually the other team besides the Suns who are 8-2 in their past 10 games. Those are the two best teams in the Western Conference at the moment in terms of just how they're playing right now. And yet, the Clippers season kind of might as well be over. They're 15-23, even with Kawhi playing like a god. And we know how the Bradley Beal thing turned out for them. So, some of these teams, like obviously Houston's going to continue to be in the conversation. The Lakers are going to continue to be in the conversation, but it's hard not to feel just massively vindicated as a Suns fan right now for all of the stuff we talked about over the past 3 to 5 years.
It's really just kind of interesting to see what the Suns are doing working. Like what they're doing is working. And it's just interesting to see that at the same time as what the Rockets are doing maybe not working as well as it did last year. And I think it's sort of indicative of where the NBA is at as a product and what it takes to win and just how differently the players that are involved are going to be viewed. I think obviously Dillon Brooks being the main one. Dillon Brooks, one of the most important players on the Houston Rockets last year. They ended the season as the second seed and they were good overall. And, the Houston Rockets could end up there anyway if they just put it together and play well. The Suns last year had KD, were bad. And they just had zero toughness. They didn't play well on the margins. They had efficiency in scoring. They were one of the best shooting teams in the NBA. Kevin Durant was always efficient.
But lost the
Devin
possession
Booker had
battle
a slight
every game.
Off year, but lost the possession battle every game. Yeah. And, the Suns are just in such an interesting place when you think about like how we really value what it takes to win. Because if you look individually at Kevin Durant, just like you could do last year and the last few years, you're going to say, well, he's not the problem. And, maybe he is or maybe he isn't. Like, I'm not involved enough with the Houston Rockets.
He's certainly
really
not.
It.
Even if you're going to make the case that he is a problem, let's be honest, you can't make a case that he is the only problem. That would be truly,
of course,
the work of a next level hater that even I cannot.
A take artist.
Yeah. Even I cannot ascend to those heights. The Rockets have many problems. They're missing Fred VanVleet. They can't make an open three. Most of the guys on their roster to save their life. I'm not Kevin Durant's biggest fan after the way things turned out in Phoenix, but I'm not going to sit here and make the case that he is single-handedly tanking their season. That doesn't make any sense.
But on the other hand, we have the Phoenix Suns, right? And we have what Devin Booker's doing, and he's the leader of the Suns. And Zach Lowe just had a podcast where he named his All-Stars, left Devin Booker off the team. People are very upset by that. We can have the All-Star conversation. I'm just so uninterested in it this year because the Suns season is fun. And also we have such little control over it. We can tell you all to go on and vote, but you're going to do it if you want to. You're not going to do it if you don't want to. We just have such little control over this narrative.
Democracy dies in darkness.
Yeah, go vote, I guess.
Vote.
Even the vote is only partially. He's not going to be a starter.
If you're in line, Adam Silver can't stop you. He can't stop you from voting.
Devin Booker is playing so hard on both sides of the ball this year compared to any point that we've seen in previous seasons outside of maybe the year they won 60-plus games. And I just find it kind of interesting to look at his season and focus solely on the efficiency and say this is the reason he can't be an all-star because of the efficiency. Now, I understand why somebody like Zach Lowe might do it because their job is to go on the podcast and make the case for the players that they're picking. And if you have something that makes the case for or against it, you're going to latch on to those things because that is what makes your argument feel sound. But Devin Booker playing very hard defensively. And you see these videos of Luka Doncic being targeted over and over and over again. And you see how he's a massive problem defensively. You had KD on the Suns last year. He didn't run back in transition. That's a problem. The Suns had some of the worst transition defense in the NBA. It sunk their defense. They did all right in the half court. They were terrible in transition last year. You see videos of SGA. The Suns targeted him over and over and over again. You see how that became a problem for them in their last few games where they had some losses or some difficult games.
Works for a game. It
works for a game.
Works for a game. I'm not gonna say like I'm not gonna put SGA in the Luka category.
He's not.
He doesn't.
He's definitely not.
He doesn't deserve to be there. He tries a lot harder than that. But yeah, it worked for us.
He's also a capable defender when he's locked in.
He
like
is.
a pretty capable defender
Yeah,
when he's locked in. And I just find it interesting to think about that with Devin Booker. He's not really like that. He's not somebody that's targeted over and over again. He's also fouling less this year than he has in previous times. In fact, the Suns have done a good job avoiding the whistle in the last 5 or so games, which we can talk about too. I think OKC and beyond, they're being called a little bit differently. Maybe their reputation for their toughness this year is finally catching up to them with the referees. But like if Devin Booker was worse on the defensive end, but like saving some of that energy for the offensive end and being more efficient, it's not to say that he definitely could do that. I think a lot of people would actually be happier with him this season in some weird way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
No,
there's
I totally
just
get
an
it.
easier way to look at the numbers and point at it and say, this is good. We can see these numbers. These numbers mean he's playing well. But like the efficiency is important still. And efficiency will always be important in basketball. But I do find it interesting that we're just in a point where efficiency matters too, but if all the little stuff doesn't happen around that, which we've seen with the Suns last year, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
So all of that other little stuff that's harder to compute, harder to quantify, is so vital and so important for winning in the NBA, more than it's been in the time that we've had this podcast, at the very least, that there's some things that are just, it's just a little bit more difficult to quantify what makes a good player in the NBA this season, I think, because of the way, like I think you could make a case that, like we talked about it, Jordan Goodwin, for example, how important has he been for the Suns? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. You could stack him against other players and say, should this guy be playing over Grayson Allen? We talked about it. Like, will there be times where Jordan Goodwin is closing for the Suns, even though Grayson Allen, by all accounts, should be better? And yeah, I think Jordan Goodwin will be at times closing games for the Suns. And like, how do you quantify what that means? It's just something that's been bouncing around in my head.
Yeah, there's statistical arguments for a guy like Jordan Goodwin. Of course, you can look at like the offensive rebound rate and stuff, or his stocks. But then there's stuff that just doesn't show up in the stat sheet, and you see that with Devin Booker too. It's funny. We've been doing this for 8 years now, almost, and the longer we do it, I think this is true with anything. It's not just true with fucking podcasting, obviously, but like the longer we do it, the more I realize how much we don't know, and to what extent there's just not one right way to do this stuff. NBA strategy included, team building strategy included. And that's why you see teams taking these weird approaches. Look at Houston this year. For as much as we dogpiled on them a little bit at the beginning of this episode, it's still a fascinating strategy. A team like the Houston Rockets, and
it was working really well.
And they're going to be a playoff team. They still have one of the best net ratings in the NBA. It's just looks really weird, and sometimes you can poke holes in it.
It should be said that Şengün has missed a few of the games recently too, but at the same time, the Suns have played with their quote-unquote second best player one game.
I thought Şengün was holding them back. That's what some people on Twitter told me.
That's true. Well, he just shoots too much.
Yeah. My guy was,
Şengün, a guy who shoots all the time.
My guy was relegated to the corner. Anyway, okay, we got to stop with that. What I want to say about Book, to respond to what you were saying about Book.
Yes. Yeah.
The efficiency is important. It's a nuanced thing, right? Because you've seen it recently in these big wins that we've had against OKC. Came down to our star versus your star. Who can make the big shots, right? Not to be like too...
Same with Houston.
Not to be too... Yeah, and Houston. And New York. Happened with the Knicks too.
Yeah.
Our star versus your star. So this is why we know efficiency is important. We know that as the margins decrease, if the Suns are actually in kind of another tier now, as a... Oh, God, we haven't even used this word on the pod yet this season. Let's call them an outer ring contender, right? If we're putting them as very much an outer ring contender, okay? But that means if they have the potential to be in a series against a really good team in the first round, it's going to come down to shot making, and Book needs to not be a 30% three-point shooter. All of that is true. On the other hand, the Suns are winning right now. It's good to see Devin Booker hit game winners and all that. The Suns are winning because of their defense. The story of the Suns season is their defense. That's what it is. I mean, maybe it's
especially lately.
It's who do you want to credit that? Do you want to put that on Jordan Ott? Do you want to put that on, various role players? Do you want to put it on Mark Williams and Oso Ighodaro? Whatever. But
Mark Williams, Oso Ighodaro, Colin Gillespie, Jordan Goodwin.
Everyone gets credit. But what the stats say, again, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. The only other team in the NBA that's 8-2 in their last 10 games are the Los Angeles Clippers. It's very funny to me. But in those 10 games, the Suns are 18th in scoring. They're 18th in scoring in the last 10 games, shooting 45% from the field, 36% from deep. Not bad, but just not that good. Like a pretty mediocre offense, and yet they're 8-2. Last 5 games, OKC scored 105. And keep in mind, also, if you're like me or you're older than me and you followed the NBA for 2, 3, 4 decades, your brain might still need to calibrate. When I say the Suns are 18th in scoring in the past 10 games, in today's NBA, that means they're scoring 114 points per game. In my brain, when I grew up watching Steve Nash, that would have been by far the best offense in the NBA. Now it's like, if you hold a team to less than 110, you played well that night defensively.
Played really well.
You played really well. And that, to me, is still something, I'm getting used to. I look at box scores and I'm like, oh, gave up 111 points. Not a great defensive game. Actually, it is in today's NBA. So last 5 games, OKC scored 105. Houston scored 100. Memphis scored 98. Washington 93. And the Knicks 107. These are fantastic, phenomenal defensive performances from the Suns. And that's really just the story of their season. That's where it starts. But I think for a lot of people who are covering the team, inside or outside, it's a little bit more difficult to point people in the direction of that. It's just not, it doesn't pop off the page in the same way. As a guy who's
really
scoring
impressive
35 points a game or whatever.
If you care about coffee and how it's made, check out Alchemy Roast. They roast in small batches and source their beans responsibly, focusing on flavor instead of mass production. The result is coffee that's balanced, well-developed, and easy to drink, whether you brew at home every day or just want something better than grocery store coffee. You can order online at alchemyroaster.com, and if you use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. Go now to alchemyroaster.com, my favorite coffee, and use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout. Get 10% off, support a local Phoenix business, and get the best coffee you can buy.
Calling all fun lovers and memory makers, Texas invites you to cheer from our stadiums and dance like no one is watching. Culture seekers can find the art that truly inspires. Wow. And from our shopping hubs to our chic boutiques, fashionistas will never leave empty-handed. Texas is an unforgettable experience that's waiting just for you. Visit TravelTexas.com and plan your trip today. Let's Texas.
New Year, same extra value meals at McDonald's. So now get 2 snack wraps, plus fries, and a medium soft drink for just $8.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
What'd you think of the Knicks game? So this is and the Knicks, of course, have been struggling lately. We talked about it in our previous podcast when we previewed this game. Their defense has cratered a little bit, and they've lost some games recently, but they are a contender, one of the 3, I guess you can maybe say, if you include Boston. I don't even know who the third one would be.
I think you unfortunately have to include Boston, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so far, Boston, that would be Boston, the Knicks. This is the state of the conference, but Boston, the Knicks, and Detroit, who is sort of a surprise contender, I think, by all accounts. They're not shocking, but surprising.
They're
the
this
fact
year's
that they
Cleveland.
are the best team in the NBA. Yeah,
no one knows.
That's a good way to describe
no
it.
one knows if it's real for sure yet, but they have earned some level of respect that they're going to be.
They're the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
And, then you have the Raptors, Philadelphia 76ers, and the Magic in the top 6. But the Knicks most people consider them the best team in the East. Now, you can quibble with that all you want, but what did you think of that game?
I mean, Grayson Allen, first of all, I know this isn't a Patreon pod, so we're going to wait another game or two before we do the Hustle Player of the week. Mm-hmm. But I'll just say right now, first place for Hustle Player of the Week this week goes to Grayson Allen for saving the game. against the Knicks, throwing the ball off of Mikal Bridges.
It's so awesome.
As he fell out of bounds. One of the greatest hustle plays that we've seen from any Suns player in quite some time. I don't even know what to compare it to. Just awesome. And also, like, Grayson, as many shooters are, but he's been entirely touch and go with his 3-point shot so far. It's like either he comes in and he makes nothing, or some of these games, a couple games he's come in and he shot really well.
So Royce O'Neal-like. And he does take hard shots, though, I will say.
Royce, by the way,
he needs to keep doing.
Having a fan.
Yeah.
He is on a heater lately.
I went to the Wizards game, by the way. We'll talk about that, too.
He's on 4 or 5 straight games of just like he can't miss. So good to have Royce O'Neal in a stretch like this when a guy like Grayson is struggling, or Colin Gillespie, another guy who's kind of struggling with a shot right now. Need to have multiple options to balance it out. But yeah, just a really interesting game in the sense that, like, I remember second, third quarter, crazy shot making going back and forth, and then everything bogged down in the fourth. And I think that fourth quarter score was like 21-18 in favor of the Knicks. And there were very few baskets at a certain point, but they were thankfully able to eke it out.
I enjoy the Suns being good enough that during a Knicks game we get an angry Ben Stiller tweet like about the refs cheating the Knicks somehow. It was the Grayson Allen defense play where he kind of forced a loose ball, dove under the ground and got it. And it's like, well, the Knicks, I think in particular, saying that was a foul was not surprising to me because their defense has been so poor this season. They don't know when good defense is right in front of their faces. They also had some problems with that out-of-bounds call. But, of course, that's all exciting to me that these fan bases get frustrated enough with the Suns that they're complaining in that way about them because, last year we were that fan base most of the time. But, often when the Suns lost last year, they lost by a lot.
They're constantly.
So even those close games, it was hard to complain. So, yeah.
Constantly getting in people's heads, forcing these famous actors, directors to ask who the hell is that guy. First it was Austin Butler. Now, Ben Stiller. Are you a Severance guy, by the way? Have we talked about it?
Yeah.
I have not watched Severance yet. It's one of those shows I just haven't gotten around to, but I don't know. It was season 2 good?
Season 1 is...
Everyone said season 1 was great, and then season 2... I feel like I can't... This is total tangent now, sorry. I just feel like I can't start a new show anymore until it's like at least 3 seasons deep, which...
No, that's fair.
In the modern TV production environment means it's about 10 years in. So, I just don't know with Severance, but maybe I'll try it out.
The Suns also beat the Washington Wizards. And so I went to the Wizards game, right? And
I saw you
sat
getting
right,
stared down by Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, I sat right in the line of fire of the Dylan Brooks stare down, which is very exciting to see it. And I really was like, we got to go early. I want to see if I can catch Dylan Brooks staring. And then we just happened to be sitting right where he was staring, which was fun. But before the game, I was like, this feels like a guaranteed win for the Suns. And like, even as I was saying it, I was like, oh, that didn't feel good to say. Now they're going to lose. But this team has instilled such a high level of confidence in me when they're playing bad teams. And they've earned it. In fact, let me check their record against teams under 500. But they've earned it so far this season. 15-4.
That's crazy.
15-4 against teams under 500. They're 9-11. For over 500.
What's OKC's?
That record has gotten significantly better. OKC is 10-5 against teams above 500. Yeah.
Wait, against teams above 500?
Above 500.
Oh, what's
yes.
OKC below? Below 500.
Oh, 23-2.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes
Yeah,
sense. For a second,
teams.
I thought you were like, okay.
No. And the Suns basically have the same record against teams over 500 as the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 9-10 and who are the 4th seed right now. They just haven't played as many teams. Well, they have one extra game to play here, and we'll see if the Suns have a chance to catch up to them. They've been playing really well lately, though. But going into that game, I thought this team, it just feels like they beat teams like this Washington Wizards team. They're too disciplined that even if they keep it close, the Suns always end up pulling ahead at some point in the second or third quarter, and then often, like this game, Devin Booker can sit in the fourth, and they've done that against some of the worst teams in the NBA so far this season. In a similar way, by the way, that the Cavs did last year, where Jordan Ott was last year, where Donovan Mitchell had great stats, but if you looked at it per 36, it was even better because he was playing like 32 minutes a game. They were just killing teams. He didn't have to play the fourth quarter of many games,
I guess,
and that would be a very nice place for the Suns to get this year.
My question for you, you're talking about like, oh, they're gonna kill the Wizards. You go into a game feeling that way, and then you think like, I don't know if I should say that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this season, no matter what happens, is just like all gravy still? Or
yes, in some ways.
Are
That's
you
a good
starting
question.
to feel a little bit of pressure that comes with expectations? We've talked about this a lot.
No, I'm not.
Have the Suns played themselves into a place of some level of expectations? No one expects them to be a contender still right now. But like I said, they're 3 games back of the 2nd seed. That carries some weight. There's some responsibility.
Here's what I'll say. If you told me before the season the Suns would finish the season as the 6th seed, I would consider it an absolute success and like a resounding success in a way that I would have never predicted.
Yep.
And I still sort of feel that way. Like I have not got to the point where the weight of expectations is making me feel any particular way about what's happening. Now, admittedly, if they get to the playoffs, they make the playoffs, have a playoff round, I'm going to be a mess. I have been every single time they've played in the playoffs. I'm sick the morning of the games. I'm terrified until the game tips. And then when basketball starts, I feel okay. But yeah, that's just how I am. And that's definitely going to happen, even if they're like, if they end up playing OKC in round 1, nobody's going to expect them to win. And all the pressure should be off. Like if they found a way to do well in that series, that would be great. But I still would feel sick leading up to those games. It's just how I am. But no, I don't feel that way. I don't really feel... What about you? Do you feel the weight of expectations now?
Not the weight of expectations exactly, but I think it's interesting to bring up because, look, the trade deadline's 3 weeks away.
Yes. Can we... Before we get too deep into that...
Uh-huh.
Because we do have to have that conversation.
It's 3 weeks away, which I think is interesting, by the way, because, like, isn't that early? It's February 5th this year, and maybe
It's usually around there.
Really? I feel like
sometimes
usually
a little
like,
later, maybe a week later.
Yeah, like mid-February or something I was expecting, and then I looked it up the other day, and I saw it's February 5th. That is 3 weeks away. Trae Young got traded already. There's real buzz around the league of stuff going on, and we need to have this existential conversation now of... Well, this has been
what should they do?
It's been a great season for the Suns. They could absolutely stand pat, and I don't think anyone would blame them. Or they could even be sellers still, and I don't think anyone would blame them.
I think fans would be furious with that.
It depends. It depends on the type of selling, and we'll talk about all this in a second. But they could also be buyers. They have played so well that they could talk themselves into being buyers. It depends on what, but we'll get there. We'll get there in a second.
We're going to have that conversation. Let's just real quick, before we get too off the most recent games, I do want to talk about how they've been playing lately, just to have that conversation. I think first you mentioned Royce, and I'm glad you mentioned Royce. We should just say that Royce has been playing really well lately. Was the high scorer against the Wizards, had a great game. I was there in person watching it. Can we just tangent? I know I'm trying to transition to talking about the Suns. What do you think of the young guys on the Wizards?
I mean, Alex Sarr is a good example of if you're trying to buy stock, and Alex Sarr played last year, which is something that Kaman Malawach is not even doing right now. But if you're trying to buy stock in a guy based on how much he can improve from year 1 to year 2, look at Alex Sarr, who couldn't make a layup last year.
Yeah, we're going to quickly talk about Man 2, who played yesterday.
And now he's averaging 18 and 8. Trey Johnson is a bucket getter. We know that.
They both look awesome to me. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I really like the way Sarr just moves at his size. The fact that he's that big and can, has post moves, can drive from the rim and shoot threes, and is a pretty good rim defender. Blocked Devin Booker twice on 2 drives in a row. That's a lot to have in a big. Even if you're not a star at that position, if you can do those things just at a high level without being a superstar, that is the type of player that just makes teams very, very, very difficult to guard.
Yeah.
Because you can stay on the floor defensively, but then you stretch the floor and you can drive yourself as a big. Yeah, that's tough. The Suns did an interesting thing where they put essentially Royce O'Neal or other wings on him and just allowed the bigs to sort of roam and be off-ball guys, put them on Koulibaly or somebody else who's not much of a shooter.
Yeah, that was the other guy I was going to mention. When you say Wizards young guys, I think of Sarr, Trey Johnson, Bub Carrington, and Bilal Koulibaly, who was also a former top 10 pick, and this is year 3 for Koulibaly now, and I don't know. I know he's still young, but I think you would have needed to see more growth out of Koulibaly by this point, or at least I'm sure Wizards fans were hoping for more growth because he's still sort of just the same guy. He still can't shoot, and he's really long, and he's absolutely a capable defender, although he, like in the sort of Mikal Bridges skinny defender type way. But I don't know. I don't know that he's gotten any better offensively since year one.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's Trey Johnson and Sarr who really stood out to me. Well, Trey Johnson has played well against the Suns every time they played him, all the way back to Summer League. So this is the third time, if you include Summer League, that the Suns have played against Trey Johnson. He was awesome in Summer League. He was good when the Suns were in Washington, and he played well here in Phoenix at the game I was at. Maybe not as well as the previous two, but still I think looks like a guy who's just going to be a bucket getter, just like you said, and has size at the guard position in an interesting way. They're not going to be good this year. They're going to be bad, even if Trey plays, which it appears he won't. But next year they could be kind of interesting. Maybe not good unless they make the right margin moves, but I don't know. They could be kind of fun. Two other guys I wanted to talk about, and then I just somebody requested some lineup data that I wanted to bring up on this podcast before we get to the slop. One, are you concerned with Colin Gillespie lately?
Nope. Next question.
Okay.
Why are you? Are you?
This is the most minutes he's ever played in the NBA. They have played well regardless of his offensive slump. And for those who don't realize it, he's in a bit of an offensive slump lately. He's not shooting very well. He's getting a little bit more turnovers than he normally does, but the turnovers themselves don't really concern me. He shoots a lot of difficult shots. But so far this season, outside of the recent play, he's made a lot of difficult shots. Those are not falling in the same way lately. That You brought up how the Suns have been winning these games defensively. Part of that reason is because so much of how they play with Devin Booker off the floor is how Colin Gillespie's playing. If he plays really well, then the offense works when Devin Booker's off the floor. If he struggles, the offense doesn't really work when he's off the floor, when Devin Booker's off the floor. So I'm only slightly concerned. I will say it appears that Jalen Green is going to be coming back soon. It's really good timing for that. It's just really good timing for that, because if Colin Gillespie has hit somewhat of what could be considered a normal rookie wall, because although he's not a rookie, he's never played this much basketball before, and he's been asked to start as an undersized guard in the last 15, 20 games. If he's hitting that wall, reducing his load a little bit,
sure,
putting him back on the bench to be the backup guard, and giving him what his actual role should be, it's good timing for that. And I think that could help him out of the slump. Or it's possible it's just like a 10-game shooting slump and he'll be fine soon. It seems like you're leaning towards that.
I really think it's a 10-game shooting slump. I mean, you could be right, but I think it's a 10-game shooting slump. He's still taking shots with confidence. To your point, he takes really, really tough threes. Some of these early shot clock threes and these pull-ups are very tough. And he's still shooting 41% on the season. That's a sky-high percentage for a guy who takes shots with the level of difficulty that he does. So I'm not worried. I selfishly do want Jalen to be back so that, I mean, obviously because it makes the Suns better, I think, but also because it puts Colin back on the bench where he can win Sixth Man of the Year. He's starting too many games, and we're starting to jeopardize his ability to win that award.
So, I wonder who else is in Peyton Pritchard. Maybe who else is in line for that? That's an interesting one. Okay, so Colin, you're not worried.
No,
it's good.
Just
actually makes me feel good that you're not worried about him. I'm not necessarily I'm not pushing a panic button or anything, but on a scale of 1 to 10 of fear, I'm more at a 3 or 4 right now. It's just want him to get back to what he was doing, and I think he can. I'm just gonna say it. The minutes with Malawach, I know we had this conversation early. I know we said there's just no way to fully judge this guy.
But you're about to judge him.
Yeah. I mean, you're the one who said it, for the record. I am someone who anticipated that he would not be getting a lot of minutes this year. I picked the under for our games played in our over-under episode at the beginning of the season.
I lost that one, for sure. I picked the over.
He just has not showed anything when he gets these minutes to make me excited. And I just feel not great about that. And like
it's
like
it's.
I know there's a lot of room for him to grow.
What do you
but
expect
I do think
in 4 minutes of garbage time? Can we just set the expectations? Like one thing.
A little bit of Rasheer, like what Rasheer does.
Rasheer like made a couple threes at one time. But my point is like.
And he does something really athletic. He does something that shows a little bit of good feel. He moves really fast. He'll get an impressive offensive rebound. Rasheer Fleming.
You're going to laugh. You're going to say that this is sad. But I am sincerely going to bring this up as a point of praise for Kaman Malawach's 4 minutes of garbage time play against the Wizards. He did not have even one illegal screen. He set a lot of screens in those 4 minutes.
Yeah, he turned it over a different way.
Yeah, I know.
Twice.
I know. He dropped the ball, okay? He dropped the ball. I know. He set a lot of screens. And they weren't
those
illegal.
are not good either.
Nick Richards, no, they were totally fine screens. Nick Richards would have set 5 fouls. 5 illegal fouls.
Fine.
4
But
minutes.
like he sets a mediocre screen and then he rolls into space where he doesn't know quite what to do.
You're being way too hard on him. I'm sorry.
No, I'm describing what I'm seeing. I'm not saying it's indicative of his entire career. I'm just describing what I'm seeing. He sets mediocre screens and then he rolls into space. He doesn't know where he's supposed to be. When he catches the ball, it's genuinely like his focus is split between what he's doing and what he's supposed to do next in a way. And this could be something that you could consider encouraging because this is something you can grow on. But like in a way that his focus is so split that he cannot fully know what to do next, which is frustrating. Young, like that's something that happens with young players and somebody that's played as little basketball as he has. But like in the basic stuff where you want to see a big man succeed, rebounding, blocking shots, occasionally getting dunks, he just doesn't do those things in a way that's exciting.
He has blocked shots.
Yes, it's true. He occasionally gets a block shot.
Yeah, because again, he's playing 4 minutes at a time. So if you see one block in 4 minutes, that's a big deal.
It's not. Yeah, that's true.
Look, all I'm saying is that
I want him to come in and do something where it's like, hell yeah, he's gonna be great later. Mm-hmm. And that just rarely ever happens. It often looks like a guy with zero feel. And that's just a little bit concerning. That's all. And like I think the Suns are in a place where like the concern about the 10th overall pick that they just had is not impacting how Suns fans feel about the season because they're playing well. If they were playing poorly and the minutes we were seeing with Malawach looked the way they do right now, mm-hmm. I'd be a lot more concerned. Admittedly, he'd have more time to learn and grow.
Yeah, if they were
getting more
playing
minutes.
poorly, he'd be playing 15 minutes a game and not 4.
And yeah, and it's possible our assessment would be different, but it's also possible we'd be killing them for that pick. I say this as I watched 2 New Orleans games in the last week. I don't know. I'm not watching a lot of league pass.
Derek Queen.
Derek Queen's been awesome, and I watched Memphis the other day. Cedric Howard's been awesome. Both of those guys have been awesome. That's all I'm saying. And like they look really good right away when you see them on the floor. There was a stretch in the last Memphis game where Cedric Howard was their whole offense for like a 5-minute stretch, and he looked really good doing it. Both of those guys were picked after Malawach. Even Colin Murray Boyles had an awesome game recently.
No.
Just throwing it out there.
I know he did.
I love him.
But here's the thing.
I love him.
I like Colin Murray Boyles too. Even if Malawach ends up busting, which is entirely possible, they took the right approach with a guy like him. Because Kaman Malawach, if you look at his body and his set of like could be tools, he has the potential to be a superstar. And Colin Murray Boyles I like, but he just doesn't. Colin Murray Boyles will not be a superstar. Cedric Howard, I have a very hard time seeing as a superstar in the NBA too, if we're being honest. Malawach,
Coward, I think, is more like
Malawach was
Coward
a swing
does
for
some
the fences.
things that look like Kawhi sometimes. He
Mike,
really does look like
Malawach was
Kawhi
a swing
sometimes.
for the fences from a front office that realized it needed to swing for the fences once if it wanted to maybe capitalize on the championship window around Devin Booker, because everything else they've done, the other guys they've drafted in the past few years, Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, Rasheer Fleming, I like these guys, but they are high floor, low ceiling players because you can plug and play them immediately and they have a skill that keeps them on the floor. What's the ceiling of any one of those 3 guys? Right? Fair. It's a lot harder to see. The idea behind Malawach was always about ceiling, not floor. And the floor could be really low. It could be really, really bad. But this is why it's important to bring up.
I want him to show me something. Just show me something.
No, I get it. Well, but you don't have to. And here's why I bring it up. Because they could trade him right now.
They could, and we can talk about that. Let me just do some lineup stats.
This should be our
first.
segue. Okay, fine. Give me the lineup stats.
Because somebody asked for these. I have them up. I just want to bring them up. Somebody was saying, why are the Suns working? What are the lineups that have been working for the Suns this year? They have played a ton of lineups. Only 6 lineups so far this season have 50 or more minutes played. They have at least gotten up to 181 minutes with their top lineup. That's the one that we've talked about on a recent podcast, which is Colin Gillespie, Devin Booker, Royce O'Neal, Dylan Brooks, and Mark Williams. That is a plus 9.1 net rating, and it's been very good this year. The offensive rating is only 115.9, which admittedly is still pretty good, but the defensive rating is 106.8. And I'm going to say that again. The defensive rating, 106.8 with that lineup. That includes Colin Gillespie and no real quote-unquote power forward outside of Dylan Brooks, who is wide but is not very tall. And that means they're doing a great job with that lineup. Anything that stands out to that lineup? We talked about it already.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
We have talked about it throughout the season. The energy is constant. Switchability.
Here's one surprise. The best net rating of any lineup that's played over 50 minutes so far this season is Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Ryan Dunn, and Mark Williams.
That is surprising
that has
to me, actually.
A plus 14.2 net rating and has only played 74 minutes, but that's, of the top lineups in the Suns. That's, there's only 6.
Well, there's a lot of shooting there. The only guy who's a non-shooter, Mark Williams, I guess, but Ryan Dunn is non-shooter, but you totally make up for it by having Royce and Grayson and
Books at point guard, too.
And Books
so they're
at point.
Big. As far as the guards.
Yeah, I mean, you need Grayson.
That's got a 96 defensive rating, by the way.
That's why it's fascinating, right? Because
Yeah.
just remember the conversations we were having 8 months ago about how disappointed, or 12 months ago, how disappointed we were in Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal defensively last year, right? It was this infectious thing. We were disappointed in KD and Bradley Beal too, but it wasn't, and Nurkic and whoever, but it wasn't just them. Like, Royce and Grayson kind of showed us nothing defensively last year. Mm-hmm. And so much can change in 12 months. It's remarkable.
Yeah. And outside of that, like, you have lineups with Jordan Goodwin and Oso Ighodaro with Devin Booker. Like, Devin Booker's in all the best lineups, and he's the one that's in all these top lineups because he plays the most minutes. So he's just there all the time. He's only missed 3 games so far this year as well. So he's in a lot of these top lineups. But of the 6 best lineups, there's only one with a negative net rating. That's Devin Booker, Royce O'Neal, Dylan Brooks, Jordan Goodwin, and Mark Williams. That same lineup with Oso Ighodaro is really good. So it's just kind of funny to look at it that way. But sometimes Oso Ighodaro works and sometimes Mark Williams works. They're both in these top lineups. But those are, I think people are asking, why is this working with how injured the Suns have been? So I think it's fair to just bring that up again. The Suns are where they are. And they've been pretty injured this season. Dylan Brooks has missed time. Devin Booker's missed time. Jalen Green has missed a bunch of time so far. And look, I'm not going to say Jamari Bouye is really important, but he's missed a lot of games. We just talked about it recently. Like, when the Suns are in garbage time, they're able to really just kind of coast in garbage time with Jamari Bouye because he just kind of helps the offense hum. We saw it in the last game against the Wizards. Man, without him, when you start taking out guys like Colin Gillespie and Devin Booker and Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal, and you got the offense being run by Jordan Goodwin, it's hideous, man. Yeah. It's really bad in those minutes.
Jordan Goodwin
Bouye helps a lot.
Jordan Goodwin is not a point guard. He's a power forward. Jordan Goodwin is the anti-Ben Simmons, I think.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons, the power forward who wants to play point guard. Jordan Goodwin, point guard who wants to play power forward. Just complete opposites.
If you're an HVAC technician and a call comes in, Grainger knows that you need a partner that helps you find the right product, fast and hassle-free. And you know that when the first problem of the day is a clanking blower motor, there's no need to break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product details, you're confident you'll soon have everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or personal loans, help is here. More and more Americans turn to credit cards to get by. National Debt Relief is helping qualified clients reduce what they owe. For many, continuing to struggle making minimum monthly payments could take years to pay off. National Debt Relief has already helped over 550,000 Americans reduce their debt by negotiating directly with their creditors. When you call, you'll be amazed at how much you can save and how quickly you can become debt-free. If you want off the debt treadmill, visit nationaldebtrelief.com today. You don't need to declare bankruptcy, and you may qualify for significant debt relief. To find out what savings you may qualify for, simply visit nationaldebtrelief.com. That's nationaldebtrelief.com.
Okay, let's talk. I'm sorry to keep it till now, but let's talk about the trade deadline. Now, I think there's actual slop about the Suns. Like there's been stuff that's reported about the Suns, which we'll talk about. But as we just think about the trade deadline as a whole, I think it's important to start. How should the Suns approach this in your mind? What should the Suns be thinking going into the trade deadline with a few weeks away?
You're asking me first? Or
yep.
Okay. I mean, there are so many ways that they could approach it. Let's start with where they are, because we were a second apron team for so long. I feel like we started. Remember when we were making a trade every week last year, and we were like, "Here are all the things we can't do."
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Suns aren't an apron team anymore, right? That was the advantage of all of Bradley Beal's dead money and some other moves that they made, and being able to save a little bit more in the short term. Yes, maybe it'll hurt them in the long term, but at least for now, the Suns are $6 million out of the first apron. They can aggregate salaries in a trade. That was something they couldn't do in the past. And so, whether they want to be back in the apron again, or if they want to even cut further expenses and be closer to being an under the cap team, we're not sure. But there's just more flexibility now than there used to be, and there are more avenues. They don't really have picks that they can trade, right? They have very few picks. And I don't think they can trade any first-round picks at all. I think their only first-round pick is in 2032 of their own first-round picks, and I think it's frozen. So you have a few options. Option A
they
is...
do have the swapped picks, for the record, for those who are thinking. They do have picks.
Yes, they will
they
will still get to pick someone at like 28th overall every other year. They can't trade those. Option A, stand pat. I would say this includes if you trade Nick Richards. Like if you trade Nick Richards for a second round pick, that to me doesn't really count as selling in the traditional sense, being a seller. That's just a guy who probably doesn't really fit on this roster anyway, hasn't really shown you much this season, and maybe just could have more value and be more coveted elsewhere. So that's standing pat. Option B is be a seller. I think Grayson or Royce are really the main options there, unless you can think of anyone else. Like if they want to be a seller, like
Jalen Green.
Jalen Green, I have a really hard time seeing them like sell Jalen Green for any sort of value, especially
I don't
when
think they will either.
Hasn't
but
played.
If that's the guy, like if you had asked us in the offseason, that would be the guy that we would probably have guessed.
Yeah, and we could talk about maybe a couple configurations that I've thought of guys you could trade. You brought up Royce O'Neal for Jeremy Sohan as one idea a few weeks ago. I wouldn't even really consider that being a seller as much as it's just like trying to plug in a different.
I think it does make the Suns worse
piece
this year.
Yeah, I think it has more consideration towards the future, but that's the type of trade you could make. Or option 3. And I've been a little bit afraid throughout the season that, Matt Ishbia could be coaxed into this. But option 3, now that they're 3 games out of the second seed, is what if they try and be buyers? And they don't have that much if they want to congregate assets together, right? Because they don't have first-round picks. But what they do have, so they have Grayson and they have Royce. Maybe teams are interested in those pieces. Either separately or together. They have Jalen Green. Maybe someone's interested in Jalen Green. And they have Kaman Malawach. And I think Kaman Malawach is certainly worth less than he was as just the 10th overall pick in last June. But I also guarantee you that there are teams around the league that would be fascinated by the prospect of having Kaman Malawach. Like he has
teams that could have more minutes for him now. Yeah,
he has value right now. If you wanted to do that in a way that even Ryan Dunn or Oso or guys who are playing right now, I'm not sure that they have the same sort of future potential value. So
big names. in that case, right?
I don't know. You give me a name and I'll tell you. I wouldn't trade Malawach.
I got 4.
I just wouldn't do it.
I got 4.
All right, throw me a name.
These are 4 guys that will probably be traded in the next, we'll say, by July. Because it may not be at the trade deadline, but probably by next season. Number 1, Shams Charania already tweeted about it. Ja Morant.
Nope.
No,
thanks.
I'm with. I don't think these conversations are going to take long to get through these 4 guys, right? That's why
Sure.
I waited here to. Why? Well, no, he's not. He's not as good as he once was. And especially when it comes with any sort of distractions that come with him, which maybe hasn't been the case recently, so maybe it won't be the case going forward. But if you just look at it from a basketball perspective, he can't shoot. His athleticism is going down, and they're not very good with him on the floor.
In regards to the off-court stuff, I will say, in Ja's slight defense, he hasn't flashed a gun at anyone recently. In his not so slight defense, he's still complained about like touches and how the offense is orchestrated or not orchestrated around him as recently as 3 or 4 months ago. So yeah, I'm totally out on Ja Morant. Trae Young,
he occasionally has like wide receiver type tweets too. That you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah. I actually do know what you mean.
Yeah.
In comparison to Trae Young, right? Like, let's think about the trade that the Wizards just did as possibly low as you can trade for Trae Young. They traded nothing for him. And Trae, say what you will about his value and if he's making too much money and maybe they shouldn't extend him to a long 5-year deal or whatever, but Trae is 27 and phenomenally talented and doesn't carry those same off-court leadership issues. Ja is the worst of both worlds. He's a bad player right now, and I'm not going to go as far as to say a bad person because I don't know him, but like I would be uncomfortable having Ja Morant on my basketball team. So that's just a complete non-starter.
And there was a story where he punched a teenager too. So I don't know the details of that story and how they finally.
Yeah, I mean, I punched my.
It's just another one where it's like
of teenagers. Yeah. So
just every once in a while.
All,
sometimes they deserve it.
Yeah, for sure. You go to a skate park, just punch a teenager.
Yeah,
for
exactly. Sure. Mm-hmm. Zion Williamson.
What's the pitch like? Jalen. You also have to give a
talent,
package, right? Is it Jalen Green plus Malawach?
I don't know if
for
that
Zion?
we need to, right? I mean, yeah, it'd be something like that. I mean, maybe you could do it for less, honestly. But like,
I'm still good. I'm good on this.
Yeah, me too. He just doesn't play enough, and I think he's just hasn't showed to be like dedicated to the grind. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. He's not a Brian Gregory type player. Management type player.
Yeah. Anthony Davis, who, by the way, just has a hand injury, ligament, potentially might not even play the rest of the season.
So my thing is, if you're making
he will play,
quote unquote, you can't do that. If you're making
I'm just saying I'm not saying he's going to play every game, but say this hand injury is only like a 2-week injury.
If you make a trade like this, where you're actually considering trading Malawach, who was this, might I remind you, kind of the centerpiece of the KD return.
Mm-hmm. Turns out not to be the case. That's Dylan Brooks now.
I don't know. We'll see. To be determined.
All-star Dylan Brooks.
Okay.
If it were up to me.
If you're making a trade like this, you're actually thinking we are making a play for the title. I just don't see a future. Call me Dr. Strange. I've seen 10,000 simulations. And in none of them does Anthony Davis remain healthy for 4 playoff series.
Yeah.
Which is really sad to say. I'm sorry that that's the case. But he got his ring with LeBron in the bubble. And I think he will just forever be known as a Disney.
Yeah.
He's had a great career.
If he made less salary and the risk was lower, then and he will be up for an extension. But I don't think there's any way that the Suns would do this, and I don't think there's any version of that makes sense. If you were, did you see the tweet that said he had 18 injuries since he's gotten to Dallas already? 18.
That's crazy.
It's just crazy. So there's just no world where that risk is worth it, especially with the extra $20 million of dead bill cap sitting on their books. Michael Porter Jr.
This one's kind of interesting.
It kind of is.
Where are we at that of the 4 names you mentioned?
Yeah.
Imagine asking me 12 months ago those 4 names, right? Those were 4 flawed names a year ago too.
Yeah, but 3 All-Stars.
But 3 All-Stars and Michael Porter Jr., who is just like routinely the butt of our jokes. And maybe still should be.
Yeah.
But also, Michael Porter Jr. for the Brooklyn Nets this year as the number one guy. I really thought that he was just being sent in to die there. Like, that he was going to... I thought, I mean, not that the Nets are a good team, right? But I thought that was going to be a total dumpster fire of a season. I thought it would be like if Draymond had to play without Steph. That's what I thought Michael Porter Jr. without Jokic would be like. And in turn, he's averaging 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists a game on 49 from the field and 40% from deep on over 9 attempts per game. Also the most free throws of his career. Never going to be a guy who's like constantly getting to the rim, right? He's a jump shooter first, but he's doing enough of it this year.
Fits into the Suns in that case then.
Suns
don't get to the rim either.
Yeah,
Only one guy does.
he's doing enough of it to be a first option scorer, and I just didn't think he could. And
first option scorer who's scoring a lot of points, yeah.
Ultimately, I'm going to say no because I still believe in Malawach, and I just don't believe that Michael Porter Jr. would make the Suns good enough to beat OKC and win a title. However, I am willing to concede.
Pretty young, though.
I'm willing to concede that Michael Porter Jr. on this version of the Suns would make them really damn good this year. Like, he actually would. So it's interesting.
He's got some shiftiness with the ball. He's a pretty good rebounder for his size, which is helpful, but not the best defender. Now, the thing about this season of the Suns is the whole purpose of this season, what they're trying to do, and maybe Dillon Brooks could offset this, but what they're trying to do is reset the culture and build a culture around guys who try hard and play really aggressive defense. MPJ doesn't quite fit that. Now, he played well enough to win a title, but, he had Jokic on his team. It's a different context here on the Suns. And I don't know, like, the way I look at what the Suns are doing right now is the alchemy of it is working. And if you start taking different things out of it, then is it still going to work? If you start upsetting the chemistry, is it still going to work? If you start putting guys with a different mindset into that.
Well,
now you're putting a lot on Jordan Ott. You're putting a lot on Devin Booker as a leader. And I think Dillon Brooks is a leader in that case. And if you do truly believe in those guys, maybe you can do that with somebody like MPJ.
Here's what I would say.
Maybe you can.
Is I think if you were going to make the case that by making this addition, you are subtracting Dillon Brooks.
No, you're not. I'm not saying that.
Exactly.
It'd be Jalen Green. Yeah.
But let me finish. If you're subtracting Dillon Brooks, it doesn't work. In this case, all you're talking about doing is Jalen Green and Malawach, who haven't played this year. So you are just taking a rock-solid core and chemistry of guys that has succeeded together and then just inserting a power forward, which is what they need anyway. I think it would work.
Yeah.
MPJ isn't a head case. He might be kind of dumb, but he's not a head case.
I'm still against it. All 4 of these guys,
too.
I'm against the idea of that. And I think there is enough, at least out there, about the Suns to make the case that maybe they're against it as well. Or at least maybe they don't have the assets, because just being against it, or they could be, a team that wants MPJ, but they don't have the assets for it. Although I do think Malawach on that young Nets team, they don't have a big. They drafted like 5 guards. Like having a guy like Malawach to give those minutes to and develop, kind of interesting for them. And I think maybe they'd be open to that idea. Not to make the case for them, but here, I will say is...
They took Danny Wolf, right?
Yeah, but he's not a center.
Yeah, he's a power forward.
He's a forward. 2 things. Slop season, once again. And by the way, I should mention, there are some Nets possible grifters. Don't know anything about the Nets Twitter or anything, but that have been saying that MPJ is going to the Warriors. It's a matter of when, not if. And we'll see if that ends up being true or not.
Great fit for them.
And then, with Kuminga going somewhere else.
That's a great fit for the Warriors.
They're definitely gonna, yeah. I mean, yeah, very clearly, it's like a Klay Thompson but taller. Although Klay was really good at defense in his prime. Jake Fisher said the Suns are no longer interested
with Klay out of his prime.
It's true. Jake Fisher said the Suns are no longer interested in Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga will be traded, but the Suns are out. We talked about it recently, but just to reiterate it, fine with me. I was never in to begin with.
Yep.
You were in, but then you're out.
Well, was I in? Or was I just...
Yes.
Was I in, or was I just prodding you a little bit?
No, you were in.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if I was...
Check the tapes.
I don't know if I was in. Someone can check the tapes. That's okay with me. He's obviously doesn't fit this team's culture. I was in the sense that, okay, I will say, I was worried about this team's offense staying afloat going into this season. I just thought maybe they weren't going to have enough offense. And I was definitely wrong about that because I did not anticipate Dylan Brooks having his best season. And I did not anticipate Colin. Had a lot of Colin Gillespie stock. I didn't think he'd be this good.
Nobody did.
So they've been able to stay afloat in a way that they just don't need Jonathan Kuminga. They don't. The cons outweigh the pros, for sure. And he still can't shoot. And this team needs guys who shoot. Although I do have, I don't know, maybe questions about that. But
the other story was from Brett Siegel, Clutch Points, who said that the Suns are looking for a cheap power forward upgrade, and like the guys that are potentially could be traded are Grayson Allen and Royce. I don't know just how sourced that is. It is slop season after all. Like some of it's real, some of it's slop.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're not looking to get Kuminga, essentially, right? They're not looking to, although I think Kuminga is probably the cheapest he'll ever be.
Interestingly,
his contract maybe.
But that doesn't imply the other path of like, because it would piss fans off probably if the Suns very easily could do this. Just trade Grayson for some salary filler and a first-round pick. They could totally do that.
Yes. Yeah, right. Somebody
and
who's
you're
not
saying
going to get minutes on the
Brett
Suns.
Siegel is saying that's not going to...
No, I want to upgrade. Upgrade was the word. You could make the case that... Here's the thing, and here's I think no matter what, how I look at it, where I land. Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal have been really good on the Suns this year. Now, Royce has his problems, but I still think he's been good. To upgrade from Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal will be really hard.
Well, part of the upgrade to me is just that you're getting a guy who actually plays power forward and not guards who you're playing at power forward.
I understand that. I
Kuminga
also think there's a chance that any of those guys that just play power forward that you could trade Grayson or Royce for would not make the Suns better than just keeping Grayson or Royce.
I agree with that. For me...
And that's what makes it really difficult. I think there's a chance the Suns just completely stand pat, and the addition they make at the trade deadline or close to it is Jalen Green, because he hasn't played this year. Reintegrating Jalen Green plus trading guys out who've kept the Suns afloat all year is too much to ask.
Right, but you also
it's
realize...
possible that we've seen this team with Jalen Green and he's played up to the trade deadline. They do make a move. I doubt that they're going to do it when they have to also reintegrate Jalen Green. That's all.
It's definitely the most likely thing to happen, and it's the easiest thing to do. It also deflates the value of those two guys once Jalen Green is back, because as we've talked about, now Grayson Allen is a 18 to 20 minute a game guy when he could be a 30 minute a game guy somewhere else. One thing I've thought about is, what if you could get a guy who definitely is not better than them right now, but is just a lot younger and plays the right position and could be a lot better than them in a couple years? I guess you would classify that as more of a sell trade. Like one thing I thought about...
Like Sohan, you mean?
Yeah, Sohan's a good example of it. Another thing I was thinking about, what is an Eastern Conference team that needs a veteran shooter? First one that came to my mind was Detroit. Detroit is a really good team. Obviously, the East is wide open. They could totally make the finals this year without doing anything. They also could make a huge splash, or they could make a tiny splash where they're like, Cade creates a lot of open threes for our guys, and we're just not hitting those open threes. Let's go out and get someone outside of Duncan Robinson, who they do have, who's a great shooter. Mm-hmm. But what if... would you swap Royce O'Neal for Ron Holland?
Yes.
Would you swap Grayson Allen for Ron Holland?
I'd consider that too, actually. I think Ron Holland is exactly the kind of player that fits what the Suns are trying to do. He's kind of a young Dylan Brooks.
He is a 20-year-old all defense and former number 5 overall pick, I think, a couple years ago. All defense, gangly arms, 6'8", 7 foot plus wingspan, who shoots just can't shoot right now. He'd be basically another Ryan Dunn, although he's better on offense than Ryan Dunn around the basket. But my point being, I don't even know if Detroit would be interested in this. I just bring it up because it's like, I think maybe there are versions of this, concepts of a deal around the league where there are teams that would be interested in a veteran shooter like a Grayson Allen or a Royce O'Neal. And what are the Suns getting? They're getting another bite at the apple, right? Another guy who maybe 2 or 3 years from now, like Ryan Dunn, like Rasheer Fleming, could be the future starting power forward. And would also be solid right now. Like Ron Holland is a solid player right now. He's just like one of the B tier prospects on on Detroit. Like, Detroit obviously would not trade you.
He's pretty good. Yeah.
Detroit would not trade you Jalen Duren. They would not trade you Asar Thompson. Those guys are like their future. They
might be an all-star this year.
They might trade you Ron Holland for a role player who plays 25, 30 minutes in the playoffs this year. They might.
Yeah.
So it's things like that I think about. And Sohan.
For those who don't know much about Ron Holland, I do remember this pretty vividly, that the first time the Suns played the Pistons in a game that Ron Holland actually got minutes, EJ said, "That dude's going to get in a fight soon." And then just a few weeks later, from my memory, he got in a fight with Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah.
like it literally just happened. Just EJ was like, as a guy was in the NBA for, I think, 11, maybe 14 years. And then, of course, has called games for almost as long or maybe longer. Just immediately picked up on, this guy's really aggressive and is going to get in a fight. And then he did. And, that's the kind of guy I want on the Suns now, funny enough. That's exactly what I would have expected. By the way, Isaiah Stewart's been awesome. Isaiah Stewart, one of those guys that we mentioned as a guy we would target for the Suns, has been awesome for the Pistons this year and a big part of what makes them work, especially in their bench minutes. But anyway, another guy, of course, who's gotten in fights and would be a perfect fit on the Suns going forward. But yeah, that's an interesting one. And also, you know what? Plays in Michigan. Just throwing it out there.
Didn't even think about that. Is he from Michigan?
No, but he's there now. And, there's guys on the Michigan front office that work for the Suns right now, on the Pistons front office that work for the Suns.
That's true.
Now,
Who worked for the Pistons when they drafted him? He's from Texas.
That makes sense. Okay. Good stuff. I think we're just standing pat for the Suns is not only, I think, what I would feel comfortable with them doing. I also think it's the most likely scenario. Now, I think maybe you could say selling high on one of these guys like Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal now while they have a chance to maybe get a pick could be the most prudent thing to do. But I think the Suns want to be good, and they want to be good this year. And keeping those guys is likely the scenario that keeps them playing pretty well. And that's, to me, makes it the most likely thing that's going to happen. You agree?
I would definitely agree. They're going to keep grinding week by week. And I think the worst thing they could do is just really convince themselves that they've seen enough and they're ready to, make another all-in move and deplete the limited asset pool that exists, right? I think they're in a pretty good place right now where they have veterans, they're capable of winning, but they also have the next generation of guys in the depth chart. So some balance is the right approach to me.
Good stuff. You got anything else before we go?
Don't think so.
All right. The next group of games for the Suns are all on the road. Miami, Detroit, New York, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Atlanta. The next home game is the 25th of January, and we are recording this on the 12th. So we got basically 2 weeks of road games for the Suns against Eastern Conference opponents. If they do well on this road trip, and Devin Booker often plays well on the road against Eastern Conference teams, I think that it will be a really interesting situation for when the Suns come back and play Miami again here in Phoenix, where they have a 5-game homestand after that.
Having to pack for Miami and Detroit on the same road trip is going to be harsh for those guys. I don't envy them.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. We're obviously going to cover that also, of course. We're going to have a Patreon podcast this week if you want to listen to that one. Join us at patreon.com/thetimeline. We give away a Hustle Player of the Week every week on that podcast. We're keeping track of them and going to give an award at the end of the year. This year, of course, we gave it to Colin Gillespie for what he did last year here on this podcast. Who knows? Maybe we can do that next year with whoever wins. But thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back very soon.
Some things in life are just made for each other. Peanut butter and jelly, macaroni and cheese, Modelo and college football. College football season is Modelo season, and the season has officially kicked off. The Modelo Recruiter is back in action, looking to reward full-time fans who give their all for their team and their school, week in and week out. If you're listening to this, you've been recruited. So lace them up and get out there. And don't forget to make time for a well-deserved ice-cold reward. Because college football wouldn't be the same without you. So grab yourself a Modelo and enjoy, the official beer sponsor of the College Football Playoff, Modelo.